Welcome everybody. Again, thanks for coming by. This is Chris Petrie. We're going to have a really fun video for you today. This is going to be a touch-up episode here where we're going to actually go into touching up a painting that you've already completed. And you might have a number of paintings in your studio, lying around the studio here and there that you look at and you say, you know what, maybe I could add something to it, make it look a little better. This is what we're going to actually do that here. The basic idea is sometimes you can actually make a more minimalistic type painting where you just do maybe a simple concept. Like here we have this fun, exciting, beautiful sunset painting. We have a tree. We have a sloping hill. We have some interesting brush marks on here that give us a feeling of some distant trees and shrubs and things like that. But we could go a little further with this and make it something a little more, let's say, interesting to someone that might like more details in their painting. So it's up to you. If you like a minimal, like a minimalistic painting like this, it looks really, I think, great. Myself, I really enjoy this kind of just, it's peaceful, a nice tree, seems like a summer night with a beautiful sky wash and sunset and the warm colors. And I like this a lot, but also too, someone might say, can you create me a painting with like maybe a house and some maybe a couple different houses and maybe some telephone poles, maybe something interesting like a country scene with like a, some more details in it, and they might have a picture or something like that. So I guess what I'm saying is you can always add to your finished paintings to just create new ideas and have that creative flow going. So once you're done with a painting, you can look at it, maybe pick it up a week or two later and look at it and go, oh, you know what? I think I can add to this to make it a little better, and let me work on some ideas. And then you can always, you're working on a finished painting already, or somewhat finished painting. So a lot of the work's already done, and then you're just gonna have a fun time and add a little bit to it. So it's a little less stress. So sometimes this could be also a technique or method you might have for your watercolors, where you maybe get down a basic idea and you get a painting down like this with some basics, nice basic style here, like of, a tree and some hills and a beautiful sky wash. And then you can go in later and kind of plan out adding things to it. And it feels like you're doing less work, which is maybe more comfortable, instead of trying to do everything at one time on a painting, which is also a good idea for some of you. You might not have as much time to work on your watercolors. You might be very busy. So sometimes you can do that. You can do a quick you can do a quick painting first, very simple, not much information, and then you can go back in and add things to it, and you can think about it before you do it, and that's what we're going to do here. So what I'll do is I'll take a scrap piece of printer paper, and we'll get some tape here, and we'll just kind of get an idea of some things some more subject matter we can put in to this painting. So I'll just go right over the top here, like that, and I'll get just a nice soft lead pencil, an 8B. And what we'll do is we'll just recreate the rectangle. So that's our painting, basically, a rectangle. And then we have the sloping hill, like that. So we're just doing a rough idea of what we're doing here. So then we took the tree and we just made it a little bit off center. We didn't make it in the center, we put it a little bit off center. And then we had our tree like this. And so we're just getting in roughing in some ideas here. We're not really going to recreate anything so much, just the general idea of where things are, the layout of the design we have. So we can kind of see we're getting that feel of the design underneath. There we go. Now we say, what can we add to it to make it even more exciting and add a little more detail? Well, we could go, I think, a cool idea, and we can do a number of these. So if you want, back in the studio where you are, does this make sense? You can get a number of pages of paper just like this, and you can try different ideas, and if it doesn't look so great, you can just start another one, do the same thing, put a new piece of paper down, get a little tree in there like so, and then maybe do something different, where maybe you're going to make something over here on this side of the painting, or whatever. But let's try this idea. I'm going to put maybe like a small house over here, maybe something like this. Maybe a small house like that, and then maybe a telephone pole here, like that. Maybe another telephone pole there. And these would be thicker here, and then they get thinner as they go. And like that. So we have some telephone lines like that. And then maybe over here on the right side, let's see, maybe another house, another small house over here. So here I'm just kind of, penciling in some ideas. So maybe a house over here. We have a house over here. Some telephone poles. Maybe a couple bushes over here too. Some trees. Maybe we might not. We don't know. We're just taking our time here, figuring out what we're doing. Maybe there's some bushes over here, some trees there. I like this idea. I think this will look more interesting if we do something like this. We might make this a little smaller maybe. And then what I'll do is I'll take this sketch and I'll put it right across from me where I'm working, so that I kind of have the idea. And we'll pencil in this subject matter, which may be 2 houses and some telephone lines and telephone poles across here. If we do that, I think we can really enhance this painting. So let's try it. I'm going to take this and then just set it across from me. Okay, I'm going to go with a smaller pencil. Let me see if I have... I have an office pencil here, so I'll use this office pencil, and we'll start going in and getting our things located here. So maybe instead of going center with my house here on the left of the tree, I'm going to go a little bit more over so that it's not exactly centered. It's a little off center. You could go here, you can go over this way a little, or if this is center between the tree and the edge of the painting, you can go a little to this side or a little to this side. Most people, if you ask them what looks better, if they're looking at the painting and seeing how we're placing things, most people would say it looks better a little bit to one side versus slap dap in the middle like that. So years and years, many years ago, they used to question people on what they found pleasant in paintings and art, and most people would say it looks more pleasant a little bit off from the center point here. So we're going to do that. We're going to draw in just a little indication of a house here, and I'm going to make it about that size there. Then we're going to have maybe a gable roof on this side of the house, and then a lower roof over here like that. And I think that looks pretty good. What else? We'll make a couple windows. And what we'll do is when we make these few windows, we'll leave some of the light from the background. That golden light, we'll leave that showing through. So we won't cover this completely with darks. Does that make sense? It'll be exciting seeing some of that light from the sunset coming through the windows in the house that we have here. And then we said we were going to put a telephone pole here. And instead of making it perfectly straight, plumb, like this, it might look a little good if we turn it a little bit, the telephone pole, and make it a little bit on an angle. That might look a little better. Like that. Then we're going to have another one over here, so this might be our other house in the distance over here. So we'll draw in the other house over here. just make it a gable roof like that. Basically a rectangle with a pyramid on top, or a triangle on top. We'll make that house like that. Maybe a little small porch on the side. I'll make a little small chimney on each side here. So here you can see I'm just carefully taking my time, not worrying too much about every detail, but just getting in the shapes of the house and the roof. Same over here. We'll make another telephone pole over here, a little bit thinner. This one's a little thicker. And then we're going to have some lines. We'll use just some quick indications of communications lines here. And we'll put a little bit of more detail on there. Maybe one more here. So this is really cool. If you make some telephone poles going this way, it gives you that feeling of there's maybe a road here, and then there's some telephone poles along the road, and you kind of see the telephone poles getting smaller and smaller, and it feels like you can almost feel yourself as you're driving down this road and going into the distance here, where there's another house down here, and we're closer here, there's another house here. It kind of has that real cool feel. I think you're really going to enjoy this. You can actually this painting we created on YouTube. So we actually did this painting just a few episodes ago. So you can actually work on your painting you did if you did do the exercise and the composition that we just did recently on YouTube of this painting. You can always search for it. And it's just, I think, maybe a week or two ago. And if you search for that video, you can watch that video again, get the first part done, and then you can go in and let that dry 100%, and then come back and do these details. And we're going to use mostly just straight paint right from the palette. We don't need much water at all, so I'll explain that in just a second. But hey, we're gonna take a break. We got to take breaks once in a while. It's always good. Take a rest. Let your concentration build back up again. You'll feel more rested. You can come back. Maybe you have another idea or two. But it's always good to take breaks once in a while as you go. And so we're having a great time here. And I always say, hey, please, if you want, subscribe. There's a red button down here below the video. Subscribe button. If you hit that button, you'll be alerted each time a new video comes out. So every time we create a new video, if you're hitting that subscribe button, you're going to be getting the video in your YouTube page, and they'll notify you. And also, if you click the notification bells, which are right where when you click on subscribe, it'll give you an option if you want to be notified. You just click all notifications, and then every time we make a new video, once a week usually, or twice a week, you'll get that notification, and then you'll be able to watch along, paint along if you want. Maybe you're just going to watch. You might not be so thrilled with the subject matter, but that's okay. Next week or the week or two later, we're going to do something you like flowers or ocean scenes or some figure work, so on and so forth. Okay, so remember, please subscribe. You'll have a lot of fun. We're working here every week, and we're going to be just making episodes for the next years to come, so you'll just have a fun time as we go forward. And we'll just take, again, a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll start the painting process of these fine last details to this painting here. So we're touching up. That's the basic idea here, is touching up a painting, making it a little better, more interesting for the viewers. Okay, be right back. Okay, we're getting started again. Let's begin. We just want to catch up. If you haven't, if you did take a break, actually at the same time here on the video that we did the break, you'll be coming back just now. And what we did was basically just a quick summary to catch everybody up to speed. We took this painting and we said, this is actually previous video we did. You can look this up on my channel. You can just go back to my archives and you can find this video. It's not too long ago, very recently. So we have this painting we did, very minimalistic, a tree with some beautiful, a hill, grass. It's kind of sunset, beautiful sunset sky, glazing technique. And then we said we can make it more interesting. So how do we do that? We're going to touch up the painting. We're going to come into the studio, take a look at it, decide, make some decisions what we might want to add to it. We decided we want to add a few houses, some telephone poles to give it that feel of maybe a road along these two houses. It gives it more excitement, the painting, maybe for some people. Some people might just like the tree there. It's up to you. But so what we did is we tried to just maybe sketch out some ideas first. So we just took some printer paper and we put some printer paper and we took a pencil and we just simply copied what we already had completed. So we copied onto our practice paper like this, our hill, and then we added our tree, which we have. So we did that. Then we added in some ideas of some houses here, one here in the distance. Then we added a couple telephone poles. And then we said that we were just trying not to go maybe with everything in the center. So between the tree trunk and the edge of the paper, we made the house a little bit to the left of center between the two. And the same thing with this house down here. We went here and said, here's center, let's move it a little to the right of center, and that looks a little better. And then again, we had our telephone poles. We just made them a little bit thinner as we go. So this one will be thicker, and this one will be thinner, and we'll do that in the painting. But that's how we got to our new design of adding in and adding to our painting, doing some touch-ups. And then we just basically took a pencil, lead pencil, office pencil, and we just penciled in some shapes of some houses here. A pyramid or a triangle, a rectangle, another rectangle here for this part of the roof. We can go over this like that. We're going to be painting all darks over this house here. Here we just went with a triangle on top of a rectangle for our gable roof, and then the bottom part of the house there. And then maybe a little extra section of house alongside here, maybe a porch or whatever over here. So that's basically and one more telephone pole. So that's basically our idea of penciling in. And then we're just going to paint now. So let's start painting. Okay, so I'm going to use a round brush. So, this is actually a Kolinsky round brush. Da Vinci makes this. It's a travel brush. It's got a good point on it, and it's small because we're doing fine details now. We don't want a large brush, so we wouldn't want to go in here with like an 8 or a 10. We want to keep this small. This is a 5 travel brush, or a 4. This is actually a number 4 brush, so it's quite small, perfect for these small details. And we'll use a needlepoint brush for our telephone poles and telephone lines. So we'll have a nice fine, extremely fine point here for our lines and our telephone poles. And then for our houses, again, a very, very small round brush with a good point to get our details here on our house. So let's start out. We'll use the same colors we used in the painting. We recall we used sap green, so we're not going to use any water. We're just going to use the paint and the palette. No water today except to rinse the brush. And when we rinse our brush, we recall we want to dry off the water. When we rinse the brush, we'll dry the water off. So if I rinse my brush, I dry off the water on a paper towel or a sponge or a tissue. And then this way we're not flooding our palette with water. Does that make sense? We want to keep these paints fresh, moist, without puddles of water in there. So that'll ruin the effect of using the straight paint, because we need just straight paint right now to get these darks in here. So let's get started. We use the sap green, some burnt umber, some burnt sienna, make it a nice dark, French ultramarine blue, and there we go. We have a really nice dark. Maybe a little more burnt umber there and burnt sienna, make it a little warmer maybe. But essentially same colors we used in the original washes that we did when we created this painting. So let's start out. Now we'll start over here on this part of the roof, like that. Now the tendency is to just paint everything completely dark, one tonal value, and then leave the little squares of window unpainted so that you see that orange glow from behind. What I'm going to try to do here is maybe go for a couple of different tonal values. So let's say I'm going to make this roof section here. I'll make that the darkest dark, like that. Then what I might do is actually, I think I am going to go with that idea of all darks, because that'll really enhance that light in the windows there. Let's try it and see how it looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now there, maybe we can go with a lighter tonal value. So maybe let's rinse the brush, tap off a little bit of water, maybe go with a little bit of cobalt blue, a little lighter blue. And maybe let's make this this section of the here a little lighter. Like that. That might look good. We can always go over with a darker tonal value. I think that looks good. There we go. I think that looks fine. Okay, then we're going to go over here and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to, I'll rinse off my brush, dry off the water. And I think that looks fine. A little indication of a porch on the side. It's a smaller structure, you can see, so that's the main thing when we're doing when we're trying to create more like a three-dimensional quality in our painting. All we have to remember is as things go into the distance, we make them smaller. That's all it really is. So this house is larger, it's closer to us, and then as we're going, let's pretend there's a road here. Let's pretend there's a road, a nice road flowing down there in the distance. We want to have that feeling of that distance. We're going to make this house smaller. That's all. We just make this shape smaller. Basically, it's just a triangle on top of a small rectangle, and then a little square with some dark paint to make that porch area. And it's good to leave that little bit of light there through that porch area, so it kind of looks like there's a roof and maybe some columns, and then there's some light showing through there. Kind of has a nice feel. You can add a couple dots of some things over here. You can maybe make some bushes or a couple trees here in the distance. If it doesn't look so good, you can just blot it up and just make it a little less and then make it a little darker at the bottom. Maybe make some indications of branches just ever so slightly. I think this is fine here. I don't want to go with too many details. That's when we run into trouble, right? when we start to do these few additions, the tendency is to say, oh, well, I've got an hour, I want to work on this. Sometimes you might say, oh, I'm only going to work on this like a half an hour. So try to limit yourself to how much time you're going to work on this when you're doing your touch-ups, because then what happens is we do too much to it, and then it kind of ruins the effect. Does that make sense? So we really want to be careful just to add a few things, and then we have to just let it go, and then we can come back in a week and look at it and say, yeah, that's perfect. Nothing else. We don't need anything else here. So that's perfect as it is. The only thing we have to add in is our telephone poles, and I think we'll be good. So I'm going to use my needlepoint brush here, and we'll use some blue, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, a little bit of sap green maybe too. A little bit of raw sienna, so we just mix those all together. French ultramarine blue, we want to make it nice and dark, so that's the French ultramarine blue is the darkest dark of these colors we're mixing right now, and I think that looks pretty good. And this needlepoint brush is perfect for doing some really fine details. I'm just going to, this up here is all completely dry, so that means I can rest my hand on that, and then I can just carefully draw this line in like so, or you can do it in, or you can hold the pencil, you can do it like this and do, let me get another scrap paper here. Okay, so for this, for the telephone poles, you can rest your hand on the paper because it's all dry up on the top of the painting, and then you can just kind of go upwards like this and slide your hand upwards on the paper and just kind of go like this. And that gets you a pretty good straight line as long as you're just going like this, touching the brush down on the paper and then sliding your hand. We'll get a little more water on our brush here and paint. So it's a matter of resting your hand lightly on the paper and then just sliding your hand and just hold the brush still. And you can get some really good straight lines like that. Or you can do it this way too. You can go with smaller lines, so you can hold your brush like you might normally hold it, like if you're using a pencil or a pen, and you can just do like a small stretch like that, one, and then just kind of do like a dash effect. So you can just do dashes, short lines, and that gives you the straight line. And it's easier to just get that straight line by doing small dash lines. Then you can go back in and connect them if you want. Sometimes it looks good to leave some of those spaces in there. Seems like there's some light bouncing around. But that's two ways you can get some really cool straight lines. And let's go in again and we'll get this one. I'll maybe do this one here. I'm just going to do those short dashed lines. Once there. Another one here like that. Now this is a little thicker. Not much water though, just a tiny, not even just a damp brush. We wouldn't want to use any water with this at all. Straight paint really. And that's a little thicker, you can see. So we want to make sure we make this telephone pole look a little thicker, so that when we make the next one over here, we'll make it thinner. I'll add a little bit of water to that. Just an ever slight amount of extra water, because it's going to be lighter as it goes in the distance. Like that. And then one more, and this one's simple. I just add a little more water, and then I dry off a little bit on the tissue just so I don't have too much water on there, because it'll become a puddle if I don't dry it off a little. And there we go, just like that. Just so we have a slight bit of... Perfect, look at that. Now here on this telephone pole, you're going to have a little more detail, so we'll put a little bit of, tiny bit of dots on the top of this. That's where the power lines will connect to the tops of the pole, so you can make those little dots, just tiny little dots, ever so slightly. 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. There you go. Then we can get some more water in here now to do the lines. We're going to do French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and and we'll just have them a little lighter. We're not going to make them as dark as the telephone poles because they're going to be even thinner yet. The lines are very, very thin. Now here on this one, we'll make a couple lines, but what we're going to do is turn our body a little bit. So if you can imagine, I'm standing right now as if I was standing at the table writing, like we're at a desk or something, or yeah, like we're at a desk sitting here and we're writing something, whatever, we're doing some laptop work, whatever it is. Now if you can imagine, to get this communications line going this way, it's going to be a little easier if we turn our body a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm turning my body a little bit, and I'm kind of having my body just turned a little, so then I can just, it's a little easier to kind of get a nice smooth brush stroke going this way if I'm turning my body a little bit, so that I can do this, versus if I'm going like this, it gets a little awkward. So you might find that if you turn your body just a little bit, if you're working, if you're in a chair, you can just turn your body a little bit, or if you're standing, you turn your body a little bit, and then you can do the so you might just want to sweep it, slide your hand too. You could slide your hand right across the paper and just like that. That's all. Then on the same thing here. Now here, this one over here is more, we can just stand straight as we normally do and just do that. And that last one there, very, very thin. And I should have a little more curvature to these lines. Usually they curve like this. And that's all. All right, so you can see you can always, if you have a problem with a couple of the lines and if they don't come out perfect, like I did here, I had a little bit of an issue, you can grab a brush with some water, clean water though, it has to be very clean water. You don't want to use muddy water with this, you have to use fresh, clean water, and you just wet the paper a little bit. You just wet the paper a little bit, and you grab some paper towel, and you just blot up a little bit, like that, just to make it lighter so it doesn't look, but only a touch, just do a little bit of that. Not too much, you don't want to keep scrubbing on it, just a little bit. Makes it a little less noticeable. And that's passable. So here we have a really fun way of enhancing your paintings, adding things after you're done painting, creating a painting, just like we did on a previous episode. Here we come back and we do some additions, and look at how beautiful that looks. And you can even, again, the temptation is to keep doing more and more and more, and we don't want to do that. We want to leave it very, very simple. So I think we should leave it at this point. If anything, we could add maybe just a little bit of, we have the red in the sky, so we can add a little bit of maybe cadmium red here and there, some cadmium orange, just to maybe add a little of that warm color to our buildings, because the sky is lit bright with that orange and red. So, and then we'll put in some blue too, and some purple, maybe light blue and light purple, maybe some cobalt blue and purple, and maybe we'll add some of that in too. But definitely the most prominent color we're going to see with the buildings is that reddish orange. So we add some of that reddish orange onto the buildings, and even in this little bit of this tree here, we want to add a little bit of that red, maybe like that. And even into this darker section here where the roof is. There we go. All right, I hope we had fun. I think this looks more interesting and exciting. What do you think? How do you feel about this? Does this look more exciting with the little addition of a few houses in the scene and a telephone pole and a feeling of a road going by here? Let me know in the comments section what you think. If you like it more with just the tree, or if you enjoy this painting more with the houses. And we'll have fun. We'll do more things like this in the future videos, where we're going to do touch-ups to our paintings, make them even more exciting, have fun with our artwork. And we'll see you on the next episode again. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe right down here on the right-hand side. There's that red subscribe button. This way you're alerted each time we have a new video. You'll join along with us. You'll have fun. We'll create exciting videos, exciting paintings. You can't go wrong. Everything watercolor here. So we're always doing watercolors on this channel, and we do every type of subject matter you can imagine. So if maybe this isn't your perfect subject matter, next week maybe we'll be doing flowers, or maybe a ocean scene, something that you might be more interested in. But it's always good to watch all the videos. This way you keep learning the techniques over and over, and all the steps and methods that we use on all paintings that are pretty much fundamental to all of our paintings. The subject matter changes, but the techniques stay the same, and the methods stay the same as we go, as we paint through whatever subject matter we happen to be working in. Okay, we'll see you on the next video, everybody. Bye for now.